They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, apparently so is the road to discovering your wife thinks you're a complete joke. Our 10th wedding anniversary was coming up, and I wanted to do something special. Not flowers that would die in a week, not jewelry she'd wear once, but something meaningful. Something that showed I actually paid attention to what she liked. She'd been complaining for months about our dining table. Too small for when her book club came over, too scratched up from years of use. So I decided to build her a new one. Not just any table, a custom epoxy river table that would be the centerpiece of our dining room. I spent 3 weeks researching techniques, watching YouTube videos until my eyes burned. Drove to specialty wood shops an hour away to find the perfect live-edge walnut slabs. The epoxy alone cost me $400, money I saved up from skipping lunches at work. Every evening after she went to bed, I'd slip out to the garage, measuring, cutting, sanding. The epoxy pour had to be perfect. One mistake, and the whole project would be ruined. I mixed the blue resin by hand, creating this flowing river effect down the center that caught light like real water. The night before our anniversary, I stayed up until 3 a.m. applying the final coat of finish. My back was killing me, my hands were stained, but it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. The walnut grain flowed like silk, and that blue epoxy river seemed to glow under the garage lights. I set it up in the dining room while she was at work, complete with a bow and a card explaining how I'd made it just for her. When she walked in that evening, I couldn't wait to see her face. "What is this?" she asked, staring at the table like I'd dragged in roadkill. "Happy anniversary, honey. I made it myself. Took me almost a month." She circled around it, her expression getting darker with each step. "You made this? In our garage?" "Yeah, I wanted to create something special for us. Look at this grain pattern and the way the epoxy catches the light dash." "Are you serious right now?" She cut me off, her voice rising. "This is what you've been doing out there? Playing carpenter?" My excitement started deflating like a punctured tire. "I thought you'd like it. You said you wanted a new dining table. I wanted a real table. From a furniture store. Made by professionals." She gestured at my work like it was contaminated. "This looks like something from a high school shop class." The words hit harder than any physical blow could have. I'd put my heart into every detail, every smooth curve of that wood. "The craftsmanship is actually quite good," I said quietly. "The joints are solid. The finish is professional grade dash." "Stop." She held up her hand. "Just stop. I cannot believe you wasted all this time and money on this hobby project. I'd rather eat on the floor than use this garbage." The room went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for her to crack a smile and admit she was joking. It never came. "You know what?" she continued, warming up now. "This is exactly your problem. Instead of focusing on real responsibilities, you're out there playing with wood and glue like a child. Maybe it's time you reconsidered your pathetic hobbies and grew up." I didn't trust myself to speak. Instead, I walked over to the table, lifted it, all 60 pounds of it, and carried it toward the garage. She didn't try to stop me or take back her words. She just watched, arms crossed, as I walked out. I set it down gently in my workshop, right next to my pathetic tools and my childish projects. Then I closed the garage door and stood there in the darkness for a long time. But as I stood there, something interesting happened. Instead of feeling crushed, I started feeling something else entirely. See, I'd been building furniture for 3 years now. I knew quality work when I saw it. And what I just carried out here, this wasn't garbage. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to find her telling our neighbor Mrs. Collins about my latest disaster over the fence. "He spent weeks making this table that looks like something you'd find at a garage sale," she was saying, coffee mug in hand. "I told him he needs to focus on real priorities instead of these silly projects." Mrs. Collins made sympathetic noises, but I caught her glancing toward our garage with curiosity. I pretended not to hear as I loaded my work bag into the truck. At lunch, I got a text. "Can you pick up some storage bins after work? I want to clean out that garage and make it useful for once." I stared at that message for a full minute. Make it useful? Like 3 years of learning woodworking, investing in quality tools, and creating custom pieces was somehow useless. That evening, she was waiting with a printed list. "I've been thinking about what we discussed," she said, not mentioning that it was more of a lecture than a discussion. "That garage space is wasted on your hobby. We could use it for holiday decorations, my exercise equipment, maybe even convert it into a proper storage room. And my tools. Sell them. Use the money for something practical. She handed me the list. I found some storage solutions online. We can have this cleaned out by weekend. I looked at the paper. Shelving units, plastic bins, a pegboard system. Everything designed to erase any trace of my workshop. What about the projects I'm working on? What projects? She laughed, but not in a good way. Honey, you're not running a business here. You're a 42-year-old man playing with wood scraps. It's time to be realistic. The thing is, I had been realistic. More than she knew. That weekend, while she went shopping with her sister, I took detailed photos of everything in my workshop. The walnut table, obviously, but also the coffee table I'd made last month, the floating shelves, the custom picture frames. I uploaded them to a woodworking forum I'd been lurking on for months. The response was immediate. Dude, that epoxy work is clean. What kind of finish did you use on that walnut? It's gorgeous. Are you taking commissions? I'd pay good money for work like this. I screenshotted every comment and saved them to a folder on my phone. Not to show her. I'd learned that lesson. But for myself. Monday morning, our neighbor Mr. Rodriguez knocked on the door. He's an architect, works downtown designing office buildings. Hey, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is that your woodwork in the garage? I caught a glimpse when you had the door open yesterday. Yeah, just a hobby. Mind if I take a look? I've got a client asking about custom furniture for their new house, and what I saw looked pretty professional. I glanced back toward the kitchen where she was getting ready for work. Sure, but let's make it quick. Mr. Rodriguez spent 20 minutes in my garage, running his hands along the table's surface, checking the joinery on my other pieces, asking technical questions about my process. This is exceptional work, he said finally. I mean it. I've seen furniture makers with decades of experience who couldn't produce this quality. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm serious about my client. They're looking for a dining set, maybe some accent pieces. You interested in earning some actual money from this? Before I could answer, her voice cut through the garage. What's going on out here? Just admiring your husband's craftsmanship, Mr. Rodriguez said. This table is museum quality. She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Oh, that old thing. We're actually getting rid of it. Finally convinced him to focus on more important things. Mr. Rodriguez looked confused. You're getting rid of this? Ma'am, I hate to tell you, but pieces like this sell for thousands at high-end furniture stores. Well, she said, her smile getting tighter. I'm sure that's an exaggeration. After he left, she cornered me in the kitchen. I don't appreciate you embarrassing me in front of the neighbors with your projects. And I definitely don't want you getting ideas about turning this into some kind of side business. We discussed this. Actually, you discussed it. I just listened. Excuse me. Nothing. I heard you. But I'd heard Mr. Rodriguez too. And unlike her, he knew what he was looking at. That night, while she watched her shows, I researched furniture galleries in the city. Turns out Mr. Rodriguez wasn't exaggerating. Custom epoxy tables were selling for anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000. Suddenly, her storage bins didn't seem like such a great investment. Wednesday evening, Mr. Rodriguez called while I was grilling burgers in the backyard. I showed photos of your work to my client, he said. She wants to meet you. Are you free Saturday morning? I glanced through the kitchen window where she was setting the table, the old scratched one, since mine was apparently garbage. What kind of meeting? The real deal. She owns 3 boutique hotels downtown, and she's looking for custom furniture for her newest location. If she likes what she sees, we're talking about a substantial commission. My heart started pounding. How substantial? Her budget for the dining room alone is $15,000. That's for 6 tables and matching chairs. I nearly dropped the phone. $15,000. That was more than I made in 3 months at my regular job. I'm interested, I said, keeping my voice low. Great. I'll text you the address. And bring that walnut table if you can. She specifically wants to see the epoxy work. After dinner, I told her I had to run some errands Saturday morning. She barely looked up from her magazine. Fine, but don't forget we're supposed to start clearing out that garage this weekend. I already bought the storage bins. Saturday morning, I loaded the anniversary table into my truck and drove to an address in the design district I'd never seen before. The building was all glass and steel, with Meridian interiors etched in elegant letters across the front. Inside, everything was white marble and clean lines. This wasn't a furniture store. This was where rich people came to make their houses look like magazine spreads. A woman in her 50s approached, wearing the kind of simple black dress that probably cost more than my truck payment. "You must be the craftsman Rodriguez told me about. I'm Diana Sterling. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Please, call me Diana. Now, where's this table that has my architect so excited?" We walked out to my truck, and I lowered the tailgate. Even in broad daylight, sitting in the parking lot, that walnut table looked incredible. The blue epoxy caught the morning sun like trapped water. Diana ran her fingers along the edge, tested the stability, examined the finish from every angle. "This is your work." "Yes, ma'am." Live edge walnut with blue epoxy river, finished with 3 coats of marine-grade polyurethane. "How long did it take you?" "About a month, working evenings and weekends." She nodded slowly, then pulled out her phone and took several photos. "Rodriguez said you're not currently taking commissions." "Well, it's more of a hobby right now. That's about to change." She looked me dead in the eye. "I want 6 tables similar to this for my new hotel restaurant. Different sizes, but the same quality and attention to detail. Can you do it?" My mouth went dry. 6 tables? Plus matching live edge benches. I'm budgeting $12,000 for the set. $12,000. For work I love doing anyway. When would you need them? 2 months. Is that realistic? It would mean every weekend, every evening after work. But it was possible. I can make that work. Excellent. She handed me a business card that felt heavier than paper should. "I'll have my assistant send you a contract this week. Half up front, half on delivery." We shook hands, and I felt like I was in a dream. Driving home, I couldn't stop grinning. $6,000 up front. That was more money than I'd ever had in my checking account at one time. I pulled into our driveway to find her dragging storage bins out of her car. "There you are." I got tired of waiting. "Come help me start organizing this garage." I looked at the bins, then at my truck bed where the garbage table was still loaded. "Actually, I need to make a quick stop first." "Another errand?" "Seriously?" "Yeah, but this one's important." I drove the table to a storage unit I rented that afternoon. Paid 3 months in advance with money I'd been saving for our vacation. Because something told me that table was going to be worth more than a week at the beach. When I got back, she was standing in the garage with her hands on her hips, staring at my workbench like it had personally offended her. "I've been thinking," she said. "Maybe we should just have a garage sale. Get rid of all this clutter at once." I looked around at my tools, my lumber rack, the half-finished projects I'd been working on for months. "You want to sell my workshop?" "I want us to be practical. This space could be so much more useful." I pulled out my phone and showed her Diana Sterling's business card. "What's this? Someone who thinks my work might be useful after all." She squinted at the card. "Meridian Interiors? What does this have to do with anything?" "They want to commission some pieces. Custom furniture for a hotel." Her expression shifted from confusion to suspicion. "Commission? Like, they want to pay you $12,000. The card fluttered from her fingers to the garage floor. $12,000? For furniture? For 6 tables and benches. Custom work, like what I've been doing out here." She bent to pick up the card, reading it again like the numbers might change. "This has to be a mistake." "No mistake. I meet with them again next week to sign the contract." I watched her face cycle through emotions, disbelief, confusion, and something that might have been regret. "But you said it was just a hobby." "You said it was just a hobby." "I said it was something I enjoyed." She stood there holding that business card, staring at my workbench like she was seeing it for the first time. And maybe she was. The contract arrived on Tuesday. 6 pages of legal language that basically said Diana Sterling was serious about paying me $12,000 to build furniture. I signed it during my lunch break and emailed it back before I could second-guess myself. By Thursday, $6,000 appeared in my checking account like magic. I stared at my phone screen for 10 minutes, refreshing the banking app to make sure it was real. $6,000. More money than I'd ever earned from anything other than my day job. That evening, she was unusually quiet during dinner. Every few minutes, I'd catch her looking at me like I'd grown a second head. "So," she finally said, pushing food around her plate. "About this hotel contract. What about it?" "I've been thinking. Maybe we should discuss how to handle this situation." "What situation?" "Well, this is clearly going to interfere with your regular job. And what happens when they realize you don't have a real workshop? You can't build hotel furniture in our garage." I set down my fork. "Why not?" "Because it's unprofessional." What if they want to inspect your facilities? What if something goes wrong? We could be liable. The contract specifies delivery, not location of manufacture. Still, I think we need to be smart about this. Maybe you should talk to them about finding a real furniture maker to take over the project. I looked at her across our old scratch table, the one she'd wanted replaced before I offered to build a replacement. You want me to give away a $12,000 contract? I want us to be realistic. This is way over your head. Based on what? Based on the fact that you've never done anything like this before. These are business people, not some neighbor who thinks your hobby projects are cute. There it was again. Hobby projects. They've already paid me half. Her eyes widened. They paid you? How much? $6,000. She went very still. $6,000? Already. It's called a deposit. Standard business practice. Where is it? In our account. She excused herself and came back 5 minutes later with her laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard. Oh my God. It's really there. Did you think I was lying? No, I just... She trailed off, staring at the screen. $6,000. Over the next few days, something shifted. She stopped talking about storage bins and garage sales. Started asking questions about my timeline, my material costs, whether I needed any new tools. Saturday morning, she even brought me coffee in the garage while I worked on the prototype. This is looking really good, she said, watching me sand the epoxy smooth. Thanks. I was thinking, maybe we should set up a proper workspace. You know, make this more professional. I kept sanding. What kind of setup? Better lighting, maybe some organizational systems. Make it look more like a real workshop. It is a real workshop. You know what I mean. By Sunday, she'd ordered $1,500 worth of garage organization equipment. Pegboards, tool cabinets, upgraded lighting, even a small air filtration system. This is an investment in our future, she explained while unpacking LED light fixtures. If you're going to do this professionally, you need professional equipment. Our future. Interesting how that phrase had changed meaning once money got involved. Monday evening, Mr. Rodriguez stopped by to see how the contract was going. I heard through the grapevine that Diana was impressed, he said. Word is, she's already talking to other hotel owners about custom furniture options. That's good news. More than good news. Diana Sterling doesn't just recommend people, she invests in them. If she likes your work, you could be looking at a completely different career. After he left, she cornered me in the kitchen. Did you hear that? She might recommend you to other clients. I heard. This could be huge for us. Real money, steady income from something you actually enjoy doing. Us. Another interesting word choice. Funny how this went from a pathetic hobby to our future career in about a week. She flushed. I never said it was pathetic. You said it was garbage. You said you'd rather eat on the floor than use something I made. I was having a bad day. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she didn't have a quick answer. Look, she said finally, maybe I wasn't as supportive as I should have been. But now that we know this could actually be profitable, now that we know it's worth money, you mean, that's not fair, isn't it? She stood there for a moment, then walked away without answering. That night, I lay in bed thinking about that anniversary table sitting in storage. The one she'd called garbage. The one that had apparently started all of this. Because here's the thing, I hadn't told her about Diana's real interest. She hadn't just ordered 6 tables. She'd specifically asked if the anniversary table was for sale. That piece has something special, she'd said. The way you balance the wood grain with the epoxy flow, that's not technique, that's artistic vision. I have a buyer who collects unique furniture pieces. Are you interested in selling? I told her I'd think about it. But lying there listening to my wife breathe beside me, I realized I'd already made up my mind. Some things, once you know their true value, you just can't let go of, even if nobody else had recognized that value when it mattered. 3 weeks into the hotel project, Diana called with another proposition. I have a private collector who's interested in that anniversary piece you showed me, she said. He's offering $15,000 for it. I nearly choked on my coffee. $15,000? For one table. It's a unique piece. The emotional story behind it adds value. Custom anniversary gift, live edge walnut, that particular shade of blue epoxy. He collects furniture with narratives. I thought about that table sitting in storage, gathering dust because my wife had called it garbage. I'll take it. Excellent. I'll have him transfer the funds today and arrange pickup. That evening, I drove to the storage unit and loaded the table one last time. As Diana's buyer inspected it under the fluorescent lights, running his hands over the surface I'd spent weeks perfecting, I felt something close to vindication. "Beautiful work," he said, writing a check. "The grain pattern here is exceptional. You don't see walnut like this very often. $15,000. For a hobby project. For garbage." I deposited the check the next morning and kept the receipt in my wallet. Meanwhile, she'd become my biggest supporter. She'd rearranged her book club schedule so I could work uninterrupted. Started researching with suppliers and suggesting marketing strategies. Even bought me a new set of chisels as an investment in our business. Friday night, her book club met at our house. I was in the garage working when I heard voices through the wall. "He's been so dedicated lately," she was saying. "Working every evening, really professional about the whole thing." "That's wonderful, dear," Mrs. Patterson replied. "It's so nice when husbands find productive hobbies." "Oh, it's way beyond a hobby now. He's got a contract with Meridian Interiors. They're paying him serious money for custom furniture." "Really? How much?" $12,000 for this project, but it's just the beginning. The designer says he could make this a full-time career. My goodness. And this all started with that table he made for your anniversary. There was a pause. A long one. "Well, yes, that was his first real piece. I remember you mentioning it. You said it was quite lovely." Another pause. Longer this time. "Yes, it was very nice." I stopped sanding and listened harder. "Whatever happened to it?" Mrs. Collins asked. "Do you use it for special occasions?" Well, we decided to. It's in storage right now." "In storage? Why would you store such a beautiful piece?" "It's complicated." Mrs. Patterson jumped in. "Oh, I'm sure it's one of those situations where it's too nice for everyday use. I have china like that. Something like that." I could hear the discomfort in her voice, even through the garage wall. Saturday morning, she was unusually quiet over breakfast. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine. Just thinking." "About what?" "That table you made. For our anniversary." My coffee cup stopped halfway to my lips. "What about it?" "Well, with all this success you're having, maybe we should bring it back. Display it properly. Show people what started everything. It's not in storage anymore." She looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "I sold it." "You sold it? When?" "Last week. Diana had a buyer interested in it." "A buyer? For how much?" I pulled the receipt from my wallet and set it on the table between us. She stared at the number for a full 30 seconds. $15,000? $15,000. For the table She stopped herself. "For the table you what?" "The table you made for our anniversary. The table you called garbage. The table you said you'd rather eat on the floor than use." Her face went pale. "I never said garbage. Your exact words were, 'I'd rather eat on the floor than use this garbage.' I was upset about something else. I didn't mean the table. What else could you have meant? You were looking right at it." She picked up the receipt with shaking hands. $15,000. For one table. For one table that you rejected. For one table that you wanted me to get rid of so we could fill the garage with storage bins. I made a mistake." "Yes, you did." She set the receipt down carefully, like it might explode. "Can we get it back?" "No. Maybe if we offered more money dash." "It's not about money. It's sold. Gone. Sitting in some collector's house where it's appreciated for what it is." She sat there staring at that receipt, and I could see her doing the math. The anniversary table, $15,000. The hotel contract, $12,000. Total value of work she'd dismissed as pathetic hobbies, $27,000. More than half her annual salary. "I didn't know," she whispered. "You didn't want to know. There's a difference. What can I do to fix this?" I looked at her across our old scratch table, the one she'd wanted replaced before I offered to build something better. "Nothing. It's done. But we're okay, right? I mean, going forward, we're okay." I thought about that for a moment. About her calling my work garbage in front of our neighbors. About her demanding I sell my tools and turn my workshop into storage space. About how quickly her opinion changed once money appeared. "We're okay," I said finally. "But things are different now." "Different how?" "You don't get to decide what's valuable anymore." She nodded slowly, still staring at that receipt. $15,000. For garbage. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. The hotel project wrapped up 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Diana was so impressed she immediately commissioned another set for her second location. This time, the contract was for $18,000. Word was spreading. Mr. Rodriguez had referred 2 more architects. A downtown law firm wanted custom conference tables. My waiting list stretched 3 months out, and I hadn't even quit my day job yet. But the real change happened at home. She stopped suggesting improvements to my workshop, stopped questioning my material purchases. When I told her I needed to work late, she'd bring dinner to the garage without being asked. The transformation was remarkable and completely hollow. Sunday morning, we were having coffee when she brought up the anniversary table again. "I've been thinking about what happened," she said carefully. "About the things I said. Have you? I want you to know that I feel terrible about it. I should have been more supportive. Maybe we could commission you to make us a new dining table? Something special, just for us." I set down my coffee cup. "You want to pay me to make you a table?" "Well, I mean, it would be a family piece. An investment. Something we could pass down. Like the last one." She flinched. That was different. I didn't understand the value then. What value? The monetary value or the value of the work itself? Both. All of it. I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. "Tell me something. If that collector had offered $500 instead of $15,000, would you still feel terrible about what you said?" "That's not fair. Answer the question." She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked away. "I don't know. I do. You'd still think it was a hobby project that cluttered up your garage. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference." She stood up abruptly. "Fine. I made a mistake. I've apologized. What more do you want from me? I want you to understand something." I stood too, facing her across our old table. "You didn't just reject a piece of furniture. You rejected me, my time, my effort, my attempt to do something meaningful for our marriage. It was just a table. No, it wasn't. It was weeks of research, hundreds of dollars of materials, months of planning. It was me staying up until 3 a.m. to get the finish perfect because I wanted to give you something beautiful." Her eyes started to water. "I know that now. You knew it then too. You just didn't care because you thought it was worthless. So what happens now? Do you punish me forever?" I walked to the window and looked out at my garage, my workshop, where 3 partial commissions sat waiting for me to finish them. "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself." "From what?" "From making the mistake of caring about your opinion more than my own." She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was small. "I love that you made something for me. I panicked. It was so different from what I expected, and I said stupid things. You said cruel things." "Yes, cruel things. I'm sorry." I turned back to face her. "I believe you're sorry. But I also believe you're sorry because that table turned out to be worth $15,000. If it had been worth $50, we wouldn't be having this conversation. That's not true, isn't it? When Mr. Rodriguez said my work was museum quality, you told him we were getting rid of it. When Diana Sterling's check cleared, suddenly you wanted to invest in professional equipment. She couldn't argue with that because it was exactly what had happened. "So what are the new rules?" she asked quietly. "Simple. My workshop is off limits for your opinions unless you're invited. My projects don't get critiqued unless you're paying for them. And if I make you something again, which is a big if, you get one reaction. Choose it carefully. That's harsh. That's realistic. You've shown me who you are when you think something has no value. I'm not interested in being surprised like that again." She nodded slowly, tears running down her cheeks now. "Can I ask you something? Did you know? When you made the anniversary table, did you know it was worth that much money?" I thought about that. About all those late nights in the garage. About the satisfaction I felt when each piece came together perfectly. About the pride I took in every smooth joint and flawless finish. I knew it was worth something. I just didn't know what. And now I know exactly what my work is worth. And more importantly, I know what your opinion of it is worth. She absorbed that for a moment. Nothing. We stood there in our kitchen, the coffee getting cold, the Sunday morning lights streaming through windows that looked out onto a garage that was no longer just storage space, but a legitimate business. "I really am sorry," she said again. "I know you are. But sorry doesn't unring that bell." She nodded and walked away, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the irony of the situation. She'd called my anniversary gift garbage and demanded I throw it away. Instead, I'd sold it for more money than some people make in 6 months. She'd wanted me to abandon my pathetic hobbies. Instead, I'd built a business that was already earning more than my day job. She tried to turn my workshop into storage space. Instead, it had become the most valuable room in our house. The funny thing was, I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt something much more powerful. I felt free. Free to create what I wanted, when I wanted, for people who appreciated the value of good craftsmanship. Free from caring whether she understood or approved. Free from making the mistake of confusing love with respect. Because respect, I'd learned, has to be earned. And once you lose it, all the apologies in the world won't get it back. But $15,000? That buys a lot of perspective. And I was just getting started.